Nigerian government as it is today has made insecurity lucrative, and every forms of criminals or criminal element wants to go into banditry, terrorism and kidnapping. But however, if you ask me, there's a major concern within the Nigerian people. It is very unfortunate that every negative things you mention in this country, you must measure a character like the FCT minister, Wike. You want to see issues that has to do with political thuggery, fighting, destabilization, and all what have you, you will find the FCT minister. It's unfortunate that Mr. President seems to be looking and watching helplessly. And people begin to ask, has Mr. President hired an FCT minister that is bigger than him? Is Wike not bigger than the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, such that the president cannot call him to order? Because if you ask me, his actions and activity is turning the people against the government. It's turning the people against Mr. President, and it's making his administration unpopular.
On today's edition of the program, we have the President, Network of Civil Society Organizations of Nigeria, NOCSON, Comrade Ogbidi, Emmanuel. All right. Nigerians are complaining. Things are not the way they had expected. The state of the nation, if it is not high cost of living, socioeconomic hardship, it is insecurity, and Nigerians are really groaning. What's your take? Even though you don't look as if the situation in Nigeria is affecting you.
Thank you very much. But unfortunately, it's telling on every well-meaning Nigerians, except those who are either bandits or who are political criminals, or those who have found their hands into the treasury of this country and our common patrimony. So for every genuine, hard-working Nigerians, the economy is telling on them. There's hardship in the land, there's hunger, there's starvation, there is insecurity, there's uncertainty, and the Nigeria seems to be helpless, even though the government of the day has promised them renewed hope. But they are obviously and directly in a hopeless situation. And for any reason, every one of us must have to call for government at all levels to wake up to its responsibility, because the primary responsibility of any responsible government is the welfare and security of its people. If the people are not okay, then what is the essence of governance? What is the essence of government? So Nigerians are hungry. The market women, they go to market, what they buy in the morning, by in the afternoon, they cannot buy it anymore, same price. The inflation rate is skyrocketing. There's food insecurity. So Nigerians are not happy. And at this point in time, it is only normal for any responsible government to sit down and look at how to mitigate the pressure and the hardship that is before the people. That is where we are. So it is not funny at all.
What do you make of insecurity and food security? Because you talked about food insecurity, and of course, you know, most of the areas that even produce the food for Nigeria, for instance, Benue, many of them don't go to farm again as a result of insecurity. And do you think that the government is really doing enough to tackle the issue of insecurity?
It's very, very unfortunate that we find ourselves at this juncture. But first, I want to quickly appreciate Donald Trump for his tweets very recently that have suddenly made Nigerian leaders and government seems to be responsible and waking up alive to their constitutional responsibility of ensuring safety of life and property. However, do we have to wait for the tweets of world leaders before our own leaders can know the pains or wake up to their responsibility to give Nigerians good life and ensure their security? In Benue that you have mentioned, and so many other parts of the northern states, insecurity is becoming a thing that is almost normal and a normal day life with the people, because many a times when they go out, many of them are not sure of coming back that day. Many of them, when their children goes to school, They are not very sure that their children will come back unkidnapped without asking for ransom. So if you look at the insecurity issue, farmers cannot go to farm. They call them, whether you call them bandits, whether you call them Fulani herdsmen. My question is, in a place where we have a sitting and a democratically elected government with the instrumentality of state, how can you explain the fact that a militia somewhere within the soil of Nigeria is holding the Nigeria state ransom, is holding the people ransom, and the government seems to be helpless? The Nigerian armed forces and security agencies gives you all kinds of explanation. But for us who are intellectuals who cannot be bamboozled by all of this explanation, one thing is very key, that the current government of the day lacks the political will and decisiveness to tackle the issues of insecurity. It is either they are profiting from banditry, or it's either it's a compensation for their boys, whom were sympathizers and who were collaborators in perpetuating electoral violence, and by way of doing that, compensating them with all of that. Because if you ask me, insecurity has become a sector that is even bigger than agriculture and competing with the oil sector in Nigeria. Which business do you do that will fetch anybody nothing less than 60 million in a day, sometimes 100 million, sometimes 800 million? And we are beginning to hear, very unfortunately, that government, both at national and sub-national level, now negotiate with banditry and negotiate with terrorists. By way of doing that, making terrorism and banditry very lucrative and rewarding in the country. Any business, as a businessman, genuine businessman, I look for ways where profits is very adequate, where return on investment is very certain. And when you study that area, you push in your money. Nigerian government as it is today has made insecurity lucrative. And every forms of criminals or criminal element wants to go into banditry, terrorism, and kidnapping. Why? Because it is only, that is one aspect of crime that you do today with all impunity. Bandit comes and wipe over 100 school children, broad daylight, within the soil of Nigeria. Cut them away. They did not disappear. They passed through road, within the sight and view of everybody. And our government will have no explanation to the people that they can locate them, that they can go after them, that they can secure the release, unconditional release of our children. Or you kidnap a family, father, mother, and children, and a ransom of over 60 million, 100 million is requested and is paid within the Nigerian financial system. Funds are moved despite the policy of restriction of certain amounts of cash flow. But bandits, we have access to these monies under the awareness or supervision of knowledge of security agencies. Yet you tell me that there is no trace. Yet you tell me that there is no way to track down all of these bandits. And someone is left with a question. Who are these bandits there for? The late General Sani Abacha told us many years, even if that is the only thing he left with us, that if insecurity, terrorism lasts beyond 24 hours, therefore you know that government and government agencies are involved. Therefore, we do not have anybody to ask. We are asking the commander-in-chief, who is holding in trust the responsibility of the people and their mandates to defend them. Who are these bandits? Are they unknown? Are they bigger than the state? Are they bigger than the government? Because that is what is very obvious to us. So, there is nothing that explains why the government of the day cannot tackle insecurity, apart from the fact that there is collusion, apart from the fact that there is collaboration, apart from the fact that there is lack of political will. Because very just now, you will agree with me that the military that is saddled with the responsibility of tackling these insurgents to a very large extent is helpless and has been infiltrated to the core. And very recently, some time ago, a very well-respected retired general in this country made a statement, and everybody took it with a pinch of salt. General T.Y. Danjuma. And he said, in lamentation, that the military has colluded. Those statements from an elder statesman went into the ears of our respected presidents and leaders of the country. What have been done? We are aware that even Dubai gave lists of sponsors of terrorists and terrorism in this country. Sir, who have been arrested? Who have been arraigned? Who have been prosecuted to have been sponsored despite the policy of counter-terrorism financing and illicit financial flow in the country? And you are telling me that you do not know who and how these terrorists are being funded, are being financed, how those arms and ammunitions gets into their hand. So it's very laughable. If you put all of these things in place, you discover that there's a deliberate neglect of government and governance to secure the life and properties of the people. And obviously, when there is insecurity, the farmers in the north cannot go to farm. The market woman cannot even go to the place where they can get farm produce and bring them to the market. Therefore, what do you have? You have food inflation. You have food insecurity. You have fewer foods available in the market for the ordinary Nigerians and the normal Nigerians to have access to. And that is why today you see that we are not even sure of the next farming season, that our farmers will be able to get seedlings, because all of those seedlings have either been destroyed by bandits or by herdsmen in the guise of herdsmen or whatsoever, who are terrorists, and yet they are left to rove around within the Nigeria soil, and our government and our security agency are telling us that they cannot track them down, that they cannot go to their territory. So you are trying to tell us that there are a lot of ungoverned space within the Nigerian state that the Nigerian government is not controlling. Because if the bandits are controlling certain territories, then we are helpless.
What do you make of Nigeria quickly deploying military aircraft to Benin Republic? Benin was overwhelmed. They sought help. Nigeria has been overwhelmed, and we are silent. But we are quick to send military to Benin Republic, to the point that we even had to illegally enter Burkina Faso airspace, and they commanded us to come down.
Sir, if we were having a very sane and responsible National Assembly, that's an impeachable offense. By today, we should be talking of something different. It is reckless. It is abuse of constitutional powers. Mr. President, with the way and manner he has hurriedly intervened in Benin issue, I saw the tweets or whatsoever that he has given an order that our armed forces, our air carriers, moved immediately into Benin Republic to restore constitutional order of governance. And I shook my head. It's like a man whose house is burning, raging down with fire and brimstone, and you rush to your neighbor's house to start quenching your neighbor's fire. The question you ask, if Mr. President has made a statement within recent history that he has given an order that the entire Sambisa forest should be combed, that the entire bandits, their sympathizers, known and unknown, should be fished out within 24 hours and that normalcy should restore to the Nigerian state for the Nigerian people and voters and electorate and citizens who are the highest, office holder in any democratic system, because the office of the president is a political office. The highest office in the Nigerian state is the citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If Mr. President have attached so much importance to the safety, to the life, and gave such order, it would have been a joyful thing that people are rejoicing today that Mr. President made a very good order for the restoration of and safety of the Nigerian people. But swiftly, he has intervened for Benin. What does that suggest to us? It suggests that it is not because we do not have the capacity. It means that there is a latent capacity to do the needful. But it is either Mr. President's hands are tied, he lacks the political will, or those who are perpetuating this evil are even bigger than Mr. President and the office that he's holding. So if you ask me, despite the scarce resources within the Nigerian state, as they will always tell us, there is no money to fund healthcare. There's no money for roads. There's no money to employ more doctors. There's no money to employ more teachers. There's no money for XYZ. But you have the resources to deploy troops overnight to Benin Republic to restore order. It is not bad that you give you extend a hand to your neighbors. Yes, but if you were seen to be a responsible father who is doing very well at home, the children will not even feel it that you are pushing resources and budget and spendings to your neighbors. Because it is only when your house is okay that the spillover can get to all of that. But I also do understand that there is palpable fear within the West African sub-region, because there is a general discontentment of the people. We would have expected that before now, the issue of good governance should be championed within the African states, because all of this revolt is as a result of discontentment of the people, disenfranchisement, either by dismantling democratic system, either by destroying the rule of law, and oppressive tendencies in all ramifications perpetuated by those saddled with state responsibilities and powers. So, that action, if you ask me, was not patriotic to a large extent, but was more of personal protection and a fear of the unknown. And the National Assembly must wake up to their responsibility. They must wake up, because if Mr. President has seen that the National Assembly will do the needful, at least there is 48 hours a window for action. He would have been able to wait and send a message to the National Assembly seeking for approval. Because the question today that is begging for answer is this: who is sponsoring all of those military actions in Benin Republic right now? Both the air and the troops on ground. What is the welfare of the Nigerian soldiers? What is the guarantee of the welfare of the Nigerian soldiers that is being deployed to that area? What is the scope of their responsibility? Because we might end up creating more problem for the Nigerian state by quickly having an unguided intervention in Benin. But what is everywhere is that normalcy have been restored in Benin, and I challenge the Nigerian government to restore normalcy in the Nigerian state.
There is one issue we want to look at, man. Let's look at the judiciary. A lot of persons, they say perception is everything. And given our recent experiences, talking about the elections, the results we've seen at the elections, a lot of persons are not comfortable with what is coming out from the judiciary. And there's this particular case now within the judicial system, which is the defamation suit instituted by the 2023 APC governorship candidate in Rivers State, TONYE against the FCT minister, Wike. The matter came up yesterday for mention. Of course, the defendant, which is FCT minister, didn't show appearance. To start with, this is a case a lot of persons will be looking at. He slammed a 40 billion naira defamation that he lied against his person. According to him, he described an interview he granted on one of the TV stations as malicious, false, and politically motivated statements, and said that that was on the strength of which he took him to court and even the TV station. So let's start with the judiciary. Can we trust the judiciary to do their job the way it should be done in the light of what we've seen with the judiciary, electoral matters and so on?
Yes, I think to a very large extent it's unfortunate that before now we used to say that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. There is no democratic system that can grow very effectively without an effective independent judicial system. And in other climb today, you see, when people say, I will take you to court, and you tell politicians, I will take you to court, they are frightened, they are fidgeting, they are shaking, because they know that you can predict judiciary to a very large extent, that with XYZ evidence and documents before you, this is what the law have said. But today, it's not like that to a very large extent. You see courts of coordinate or coordinate jurisdiction giving conflicting judgment on issues. So, if you ask me, I will say that a lot is expected from the judiciary, because no democracy can grow without a virile and very competent judicial system. But today, the political class has been seen to water the efficacy, infiltrated the judiciary to a very large extent, that even it is the politicians that tell you go to court, because perhaps they know there are ways around the courts, or they know that there's nothing good that can come out from the court. But however, for any responsible citizen, like what we have seen in the case of TONYE, is still to approach the courts and get your lawyers very well equipped to be able to pursue any case or in any area where you feel you've been your character has been assassinated or you have been defamed in any ramification. It is very key that as responsible citizen you also approach the court. But however, if you ask me, there's a major concern within the Nigerian people. It is very unfortunate that every negative things you mention in this country, you must measure a character like the FCT minister, Wike. You want to see issues that has to do with political thuggery, fighting, destabilization, and all what have you, you will find the FCT minister. You want to see public altercation that brings shame to institutions like the military and government institutions, like we saw recently in the case of demolition of structures, and anguish, bitterness, tears floating in the streets of Abuja for low-income earners who have worked over the years to build properties being demolished. You will mention the FCT minister. You want to see issues of outright direct abuse, series of media briefing and all what have you, you will see the FCT minister. You want to see issues of what's it called? What? Just name it. But
don't you think the media you talked about is trying to sell what he's doing in the FCT?
No, that is not the responsibility of the FCT minister to be addressing ministers, what's it called, press conference per seconds. He has aides. He has press aides, people who can address the press on the projects, on the vision and responsibilities of the FCT administration by way of mobilizing the people through press power to key into the vision. Not every time you appear on press, you are either accusing one person, you are either defaming one person, you are either insulting somebody. And it's unfortunate that Mr. President seems to be looking and watching helplessly. And people begin to ask, has Mr. President hired an FCT minister that is bigger than him? Is Wike not bigger than the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, such that the president cannot call him to order? Because if you ask me, his actions and activity is turning the people against the government. It's turning the people against Mr. President, and it's making his administration unpopular. Because if any government brings hardship to the people, that government will definitely be rejected by the ballot, rejected in the streets, and rejected in every ramification. And if you ask me, the FCT minister is doing more harm than good, because there are better ways to approach issues rather than the show of force, aggressive tendencies, and all what have you that have been demonstrated by the FCT minister. And now he has found himself into this issue of defamation against TONYE, who ordinarily we know that they were all political friends as at the time back of Amechi as governor in the River State. What you are accusing the gentleman for today, you were part of that government. Government is continuous, and he's also a former governor of River State. So why did he not address the issue that he defamed the gentleman for?
Allegedly, anyway, because it has not been proven.
No, because he feels that he has been defamed, his character has been assassinated, his reputation has been damaged. I'm speaking from his angle, and he has approached the court. But however, from the side of the former governor of River State, Wike, who was a governor, if you felt that the activities surrounding all of those sales of assets, of state assets, government is continuous, what did you do? And also, why those assets were disposed or were sold through proper bidding system, of which TONYE also bidded, and perhaps maybe he won the bid and he purchased properties. You were in that government who did all of those things. What was Wike as chief of staff? What was his position? So why not going to the TV or going to the public domain to begin to spill accusations and all of statements that suggest defamation to one's character? It is uncalled for, it is unprofessional, and these are issues that can bring about disturbance of public peace and even threats to a large extent, because you are exposing those persons you have accused to public ridicule and accusation. So it is rather unfortunate, and we need to actually call the Minister of FCT to order.
Let's look at it from this point. You made reference to the fact that he was part of the government when TONYE bought these assets. What do you think could have been responsible, since he was part of the government, he was an insider, he knew all of these things. So, and he also served as governor. He didn't talk about it or revoke it or reacquire it. What do you think could be responsible for his latest action, speaking on television and then alleging all the things?
Obviously, most of these things are political differences. They are politically motivated. Yesterday, it was your friend and it was very okay. Today, maybe it's not your friend and you feel you have the instrumentality of a state, or you have access to media and you want to begin to criticize, or you want to begin to destroy all what perhaps are positive to him. If you also chronicle and you torchlight activities of Wike, there are decisions that he has also that he also took when he was governor. Okay, that a lot of people perhaps might have not been very okay with it, but majority suggests that even if you are not okay with this, there are constitutional way of channeling your grievances. Either while you were governor, even as at now, you can challenge XYZ as citizens of River State and citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I think it's a witch hunting, if you ask me, and it's also politically motivated. Because all of these things are interest, sometimes within this political class. And when they have infightings, they cannot resolve or they cannot come out. They want to look for all means to get at their opponent. And which I think that is not healthy for our political engagement. It is not healthy for our democratic system. Every well and responsible citizen in the pedigree of a former governor and a former and current minister of the FCT should reserve the way, the legal means appropriate to addressing issue rather than engaging people publicly and accusing them to a very large extent.
Looking at some of the issues now, let's look at the context of Cole was the APC governorship candidate in Rivers State in 2023, and the same 2023 FCT minister, though in PDP, somehow worked for the APC. Do you think it may have something to do with political differences within this period, more so now that some of his loyalists have also moved to the APC, and he is still saying that he's in the PDP? Do you see any coloration or any link between all of these and political interests within the APC?
Yes, agreed. I think right now, the FCT minister can be best described as a political chameleon, that nobody can actually know exactly where he is. And we begin to look back to the election in 2023, when everybody seems to be seeing the current president to be gaffing, when he makes statements in several rallies to chant instead of APC, and you hear him shouting PDAPC. But today, the very manifestation of that PDAPC is the FCT minister of today, who is in PDP but working in the APC and earning salaries and allowances from the APC, being used as a political tool to destabilize opposition and destroy the PDP. And if you ask me, very recently, even the PDP has disowned him. The PDP has flushed him from their party and said, this is not one of us. But he is still insisting that I am a member of the PDP. And all of these things begin to get everybody amazed. If you want to be in the PDP, be in the PDP. Let everybody know that you are a member of the PDP and leave everything that has to do with APC. If you want to be in the APC, but you are working for the APC, who does that? Who does that? So he is seen as an instrument of political destabilization and destruction of democratic system of opposition in Nigeria. And no democratic system of government, or if you ask me, democracy remains the worst form of government without any viable and competent opposition. So even if the political opposition fails today, the people's oppositions, the civil society will not allow opposition to fail in Nigeria. We will continue to engage the system and speak truth to power to ensure accountability in our system. So nobody, no political calculation can turn the Nigerian state to a one-party system or reduce opposition to a voiceless figure, if that is what the minister is trying to achieve. And you ask, yes, that political differences is what is very key. Because whereas the FCT minister is in the PDP, his eyes, his interests, everything about it is inside the APC. And the figure of TONYE is a very big voice, already domiciled, settled, and balanced in the APC. So he's also trying to bring destabilization around him, around his structure, around his activities, and also bring those issues that is tantamount to his good reputation, to puncture his good reputation for political reasons. So those are political shenanigans. And if you ask me, that action that have been taken, if he feels that his character has been assassinated or been defamed, he must pursue it legally by all means to ensure that he clears himself and he clears his name before the international community and before the Nigerian state, so that everybody will know that he's not guilty of what he has been accused for. And those who are guilty must be brought to book by all ramification and by all standard.
All right. Interestingly, he has done his bit. He feels his character has been maligned. He feels he has been defamed. He feels lies have been told about him, and he has been brought to public ridicule. He has done his case by going to the courts. Do we hopefully expect the court to also do justice to this case, so he doesn't die a natural death or die from unending postponements and adjournments?
All eyes must be on the judiciary. And we want to use this medium to call on the judiciary. Today is World Human Rights Day, where it is expected that any man who feels his right has been trampled upon should approach courts of competent jurisdiction. And what is expected of them is to dispense justice, no matter whose horse is gone. Recently, even as at yesterday, we are aware that the case was mentioned for hearing, and even the FCT minister was absent, was not present to defend himself. Whether that is all about delay tactics and all what have you, but the judiciary has the responsibility again to prove himself beyond reasonable doubt that the public can trust on them, that the public can have confidence on them to dispense justice, irrespective of those it favors or not. So I want to say to those who have approached the court that beyond approaching the court, they must follow up very critically and engage systematically in all ramifications to ensure that the judiciary, wakes up to their responsibility. And the Nigerian people are also watching to see if justice again will be dispensed and if confidence can be restored, within the judicial system. That is our hope.
Right. According to Cole, who is a co-founder and former group executive director of Sahara Group, he says the broadcast, defamatory broadcast, cost him immense emotional, professional, and reputational harm. And then, of course, he's seeking 40 billion in general and aggravated damages, a public apology, a perpetual injunction restraining the defendant from publishing or rebroadcasting the offending statements. And of course, his writs emphasize that the broadcast not only injured his personal dignity, but also jeopardized international partnerships with several corporate and philanthropic associations, causing engagements pending clarification of the falsehood. In the light of this, one wouldn't blame him for going to the courts.
Not at all. Not at all. That suggests the level of seriousness that those accusations and verbal engagement has cost him. And for any responsible man, reputation is something you don't play with, especially those who have built reputation over the years, for decades, within the shores and outside the shores of this country. A single statement against such individuals, without you rebuting or taking legal action, can drop the level and perception that your partners had with you. And that can also reduce the level of favor and business engagements that you can also enjoy, or trust that your empire, your conglomerate, or your company can also enjoy in terms of engaging in international issues. So, if you ask me, 40 billion naira is just a mere compensation. Ordinarily might not measure to the level of damage and emotional trauma. Some persons can be defamed in that manner, and they will go and commit suicide. We have seen cases like that within and outside the country. Some persons will go into depression, and they will lose their sanity. So, if anybody is seeking for damage to anything, I don't think it's something that is too much to seek for, because he knows the amount of injury that he has suffered. And it is only the responsibility of the court of competent jurisdiction to be able to ameliorate their pain by giving and dispensing justice on such matters that is before them, which also in turn serve as deterrent to other political class and elements, to ensure that they don't just go out to spill accusations against individuals and make statements that are unfounded or that are politically motivated for the purpose of achieving a selfish aim or interest. So, to me, I think is in a proper line in engaging the judiciary, and we hope the judiciary do the needful.
There are those who feel that the FCT minister has been too visible, even more than the president, and they are afraid that his visibility is causing the government more harm than good. What do you think?
I agree in entirety, because ordinarily, Wike is not the only minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and it's not the first FCT minister that we have had. But for obvious reasons, in one way or the other, for every negative things that you have to see in the media today, you must sometimes see the FCT minister. Is he the recent altercation between a military personnel who is an aide to the former chief of naval staff? There was a public altercation, and a lot of people argued that those are issues that would have, be addressed differently. Because as someone who is trusted with public office, you must reserve the intellectual balance. You must reserve the intellectual ability to be able to discern issues that can bring about public shame to the state and disturb public peace, and you should be able to address it differently. But resorting to a mere altercation and insulting an officer who was doing his duty and responsibility has been ordered is reducing the office of the minister to a mere public and a motor park argument and engagement. So that is not encouraging. And if the FCT minister is allowed to go this way, he might become the very problem or the very issues that will bring about the fall of the political dynasty of the Ahmed Bola Tinubu. He has to, at this point in time, distance himself from the actions and all of the confusions that the FCT minister is creating, or he call him to order, because it's expected that anybody you have hired, you should be able to speak to them, you should be able to control them. Except the president is suggesting to us that he has hired a minister that is bigger than him. However, a lot of people felt that it's a political compensation because of the role that the FCT minister played in the emergence of his 2023 election. But that shouldn't be to the detriment of the Nigerian state and the survival of our democracy. We cannot begin to allow one man to cause pains to Abuja residents, to rising from traders, property owners, from military officers, to even what have you. So he needs to a very large extent, retrace his step, and for the umpteenth time, go back to the office, develop tangible ideas, develop tangible programs that the FCT people can embrace, that Nigerians can see and be happy. Not every day you want to be on the public space for one negative engagement or the other. That is what is expected.
As we wrap up now, what are your messages to both TONYE, the judiciary, and Wike himself?
That everybody at this point in time must play according to the rules. The FCT minister who have been summoned must, as a matter of urgency, as a responsible citizen, come out to defend himself. If he feels that he has not done anything wrong, he should be able to prove to the court beyond every reasonable doubt. And also the man whose reputation has been damaged, and at this point in time his reputation is at risk, must come out as well and pursue his case to a very logical conclusion. And in all of this, the eyes of Nigerians are before the judiciary to see that they become an impartial arbiter in this matter, to dispense justice according to law and do the right thing, so that even both parties will see the case and none of them will be interested to go for an appeal, because they'll be so convinced that the judgment is sound and responsible in accordance with the law. That is my position.